All right, buckle up, everybody, because this deep dive is going to take us somewhere pretty chilly. We're heading to Antarctica.
But we're not just talking penguins and ice.
Nope, this is a deep dive into some firsthand accounts
Yeah.
and some really intriguing details about our recent expedition down there.
Yeah, it might have you looking at a world map a little differently.
For sure. So the source material we're looking at today is a YouTube video. It features an interview with a guy named Labakia.
Now, Heber's a Uruguayan musician.
Yeah, and a documentary filmmaker, too,
And he actually traveled down to Antarctica.
with a Russian exploration group.
Interesting combination.
Right. So his journey starts in a really unexpected way. He was online chatting about the Ukraine war,
Okay.
and somehow that caught the attention of this Russian exploration group.
Huh.
And next thing he knows, they're inviting him along,
To go to Antarctica?
yeah, to document their activities.
Wow. What a story.
It's a pretty wild one. And it gets even weirder. They gave him an Antarctic passport.
An Antarctic passport. Yeah.
Yeah. Not your typical travel document.
Yeah, definitely not.
And on top of that, they paid for the whole trip.
Okay, so the mystery starts right away. Why a musician? Why this weird passport? And why all the interest in a guy from Uruguay?
Yeah, it's a head scratcher for sure.
Yeah.
So picture Heber's journey. Starts in Uruguay, then to Brazil, then to Africa, and finally Antarctica.
A lot of travel time.
Yeah, and once he gets there, he talks about this massive, disorienting, icy landscape. He said they had to travel thousands of kilometers over ice to reach actual land.
That's not really the Antarctica you see in most documentaries.
Right. It really challenges the image we have in our heads.
It does. And Heber mentioned something else interesting.
Okay.
He said what he saw in real life didn't match up with what he's seen on Google Maps.
Really?
Yeah, he actually questions if it's some kind of deliberate misinformation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it gets even more intriguing because Heber has footage of these abandoned structures above ground,
Okay.
but he claims that they're just facades for secret underground bases.
Whoa, hold on. Secret underground bases.
Yeah, like buried under the ice.
So he thinks there's a whole hidden world down there.
That's what he's suggesting.
Mm.
Makes you wonder what's going on down there, right? And why all the secrecy.
Absolutely. What could they possibly be hiding?
Right, and it's not just the bases. Heber mentions seeing all kinds of advanced technology, like 5G antennas.
Seriously?
Yeah, and even Russian submarines in the area.
Okay, so this is more than just some scientific research station.
Definitely seems like it. It raises all sorts of questions about what's really happening in Antarctica. And there's more. Get this. Heber talks about seeing tons of greenery.
Wait, what? Greenery in Antarctica?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about a little moss here and there. He's talking about fields of green.
Wow. I mean, that really changes how we think about the environment down there. It's supposed to be this frozen wasteland, right?
Exactly. It makes you think about hidden ecosystems, maybe even a climate that's not as harsh as we think.
Yeah. And remember what he said about the maps not being accurate? It makes you wonder what else they might be hiding.
And the surprises just keep coming. Heber claims he saw, get this, Argenti avis.
Argenti what?
Argenti avis. They're these giant blue birds that were thought to be extinct.
Giant blue birds. Like, how giant are we talking about?
Like much bigger than any bird alive today.
Wow.
I know. Imagine if a species thought to be gone for centuries is actually thriving down there.
That would be a massive discovery.
Absolutely.
And it makes you wonder, how much do we really know about Antarctica? If they were wrong about these birds, what else could we be missing?
Good point. And it gets even crazier. Heber mentions sightings of, like, mammoth-like creatures further inland.
Mammoth-like,
Yeah.
like woolly mammoths.
Yeah, that's what he suggests is like there's this whole hidden ecosystem thriving in this supposedly barren environment.
So we've got giant blue birds and woolly mammoths. What's next?
Well, Heber goes on to describe encountering these tall, Nordic-looking individuals.
Nordic look.
Yeah. And he says they weren't your average researchers. He describes them as very rigid, like no emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to be in a position of authority, especially around the Russian personnel.
It's a little creepy.
It does, right? It makes you wonder, are these guys part of some secret society or something even more bizarre?
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, we get to the UFO sightings.
Of course. Wouldn't be a true Antarctic mystery without some UFOs.
Exactly. So Heber claims he saw numerous unidentified objects, not just in the sky, but underwater too.
But underwater UFOs.
Yeah, and he said they were moving at incredible speeds. And he even questioned some of the official explanations he was given.
Like what kind of explanation?
He mentioned something called blue beam technology. Some people think it's used to project images onto the sky.
Interesting.
Whether you buy into that or not, the fact that he's seeing these objects that, seem to defy our understanding of physics just adds another layer of mystery to the whole thing.
It does. So we've got hidden bases, potentially unknown creatures, mysterious figures, UFOs. What else could there possibly be?
Well, Heber noticed something very peculiar about the sun in Antarctica. He said it stayed low on the horizon, like it never really reached a high point in the sky.
That's strange.
Yeah, he said it was unlike anything he'd ever seen before.
And this is where things get really interesting, right? Because he shows us a drawing made by the explorers,
Yeah,
and it depicts the sun and something called an intrasol.
an intrasol.
Yeah. And this suggests a completely different way of understanding how our solar system works. It's almost like there's a second sun.
A second sun. Okay, now we're getting into some wild territory.
We are. And it gets even wilder because Haber starts talking about the strict controls and surveillance down there.
Like Big Brother in Antarctica.
Basically, he claims there are serious consequences for revealing information, and footage gets heavily screened before it can leave.
Makes you wonder what they're so afraid of getting out.
Right. And he even mentions something about patenting unusual sightings, like they're trying to control the narrative around all of this.
Wow. It's like they're trying to claim ownership of these phenomena.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground, from hidden bases to strange creatures, and now a sun that behaves differently. It seems like Antarctica has a lot more secrets than we might realize. But we're just getting started.
It's like Heber's not just talking about one or two strange things.
Yeah.
He's describing all these unusual observations, and they all add up.
Right.
It really paints a different picture of Antarctica than we're used to.
Totally. And it's not like he's some conspiracy theorist.
Right.
He's a respected musician,
Yeah.
a filmmaker, and he seems genuinely puzzled by what he saw.
That makes it even more compelling.
It does.
It's worth thinking about the timing of his trip, too.
Yeah.
I remember he went with a Russian exploration group, and this
Yeah.
was during a time of, global tension.
Definitely.
So what if what he saw was connected to some kind of secret military activity?
Oh, wow.
Like a hidden power struggle.
Yeah, that's a chilling thought.
It is.
But is it really that far-fetched? I mean, he did mention seeing a pretty significant Russian military presence. Warships, submarines.
Right. And don't forget about those mysterious, tall, Nordic-looking figures.
Oh, those guys.
They seem to have some kind of authority over the Russian personnel.
Who are they working for?
Exactly. What are their
It's
goals?
total mystery.
Yeah. Those individuals are really strange.
They are.
I mean, their stiff posture, no emotion, the way they interacted with the Russians.
Yeah.
It's all so unusual.
It is.
It doesn't seem like your typical scientists or explorers.
Right. It's like they're part of some secret society.
Yeah, or a hidden order.
Pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Exactly. And the way Heber describes their appearance, too.
Coal, blonde, blue-eyed.
Yeah.
It almost plays into those theories about, a hidden Aryan race or something.
Oh, wow.
Or even extraterrestrial beings controlling the world.
From a secret Antarctic base.
I know, it sounds crazy.
It does?
But we can't just dismiss what Heber saw.
Yeah.
He's giving us firsthand testimony.
Yeah.
And he even has visual evidence.
Right. And that visual evidence is pretty interesting.
It is.
Think about those images of vast green fields and the abandoned structures and that drawing of the sun's strange behavior.
It all suggests a different reality than what we're used to.
It does that drawing with the sun and the intrasol is really fascinating.
It is.
This concept of an inner sun, it's an idea that keeps popping up
Where?
in some esoteric traditions and alternative theories
Oh, boy.
about the nature of reality.
Oh, wait.
It's like there's a hidden energy source or a gateway to another dimension.
Whoa, okay, that sounds pretty out there.
It does, but you combine that with what Heber observed about the sun's movements.
Yeah.
And you start to wonder if there's something to this hidden sun idea.
If there is, what does that mean for how we understand the universe?
It's a big question.
It is, and we can't forget about those claims Heber made about all the control and censorship in Antarctica.
Right, like severe penalties for revealing information.
Yeah, footage being heavily screened
Yeah.
before it's released. even patenting unusual sightings.
It's like they're trying to control what people know.
Yeah, like they're saying, we own these phenomena, we decide what you get to know about them.
Exactly.
So who benefits from that?
Good question. Is it governments? Corporations? Secret societies?
Or something we haven't even thought of.
Right. It's like we're getting a peek into this world.
Yeah.
World of hidden agendas and power struggles.
Way more complex than what we see on the surface.
Definitely. It's like peeling back layers of an onion. And each layer reveals something stranger.
Yeah.
It makes you question everything.
It does. It's really hard to fit Heber's story with, our conventional understanding of the world.
I know. It's a real challenge. It forces us to rethink our assumptions and consider all these possibilities.
Yeah, like there are these forces at work that we're only starting to understand. I think Heber's experience really shows us how important it is to keep an open mind.
I agree.
To question what we think we know.
Yeah, but there's one more piece of this puzzle we need to look at.
Okay, what's that?
That intrasol concept and what it could mean for our understanding of the cosmos.
All right, let's dive into that. All right, so let's try and make sense of this whole intrasol thing.
Yeah.
We've got Heber talking about the sun acting weird in Antarctica.
Right, staying low on the horizon.
And then there's that drawing with the sun and this other smaller sun-like object labeled intrasol.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is.
This idea of an inner sun or intrasol, it's not new. It's been around for a long time.
Oh, interesting.
It pops up in all sorts of esoteric traditions and philosophical traditions.
So this is more than just like a weird scientific anomaly.
Yeah, it goes deeper than that.
We're talking about the structure of reality itself.
Exactly. And it's easy to just brush it off as some fringe theory.
Yeah.
But when you add in Heber's experience...
And that drawing.
It does make you wonder,
Yeah.
Could there be some truth to these old beliefs?
Right, like what if there's more to the universe than we currently understand?
That's the question.
And if there really is an intrasol,
Yeah.
I mean, what does that do to our understanding of the solar system?
Yeah. We're taught that the sun is the center of everything.
Right.
But what if there's this other source of energy or light?
That we just don't know about.
It would totally change our scientific models.
And maybe even how we see ourselves in the cosmos.
It would be huge.
It's almost too much to think about.
It is.
But let's take a step back for a minute.
Okay.
So we've talked about hidden bases, possibly undiscovered creatures, mysterious figures, UFOs, and now this intrasol idea.
It's a lot.
It seems like Antarctica is full of secrets.
It does, doesn't it?
We always think of it as this empty, desolate place.
Yeah.
But what if it's actually a hub of activity?
Hmm.
Human, and maybe even something more.
But what if it's a place where the line between what we know and what's possible is kind of blurred?
Yeah, what if there's so much more hidden down there? Not just physically, but, in terms of knowledge.
It's an interesting thought.
Is Antarctica the key to understanding, ourselves and the universe better?
That's a big question.
It is, and unfortunately, we don't have all the answers.
Right.
But we do have Heber's story.
And it's a powerful story.
It is. It reminds us that there's still so much we don't know.
Exactly.
So where do we go from here? We've been on this incredible journey with Heber, exploring the mysteries of Antarctica.
Yeah.
What should our listeners take away from all of this?
I think the most important takeaway is to stay curious.
Yeah.
To keep asking questions.
To keep an open mind.
Right. Heber's story challenges us to look beyond what we think we know.
To consider the reality might be much more complex and mysterious than we ever imagined.
And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will uncover another piece of the Antarctic puzzle.
That would be amazing. Well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.